watching KREM 2 News at 4.
Well, true crime fans, listen up. You can now get your fix on the go with a new KREM 2 podcast. It looks into one of the most shocking and bizarre cases to happen here in the Pacific Northwest in recent history. And our very own Jen York and Lori Vallow are behind that podcast. It's called 1 Foot in the Grave. Here's what you can expect.
Well, hi, Tom. Hi, everyone at home. I usually see you early in the morning, so happy to be with you here tonight. So you at home have tracked this story with us over the course of the past year. Lori Vallow is a name many of you are familiar with. 2 of her children disappeared about 1 year ago now, only to turn up dead earlier this year in southern Idaho. But there is so much more to this case. We simply just can't get to it all on TV.
Yeah, Jen, you know, some people would say this case is cut and dry, but as we found out, this story has a lot of twists and turns. And as you'll find out at home, not everything is as it appears.
Please step up, call authorities, call the fire station.
It's a story that at times almost plays out like a movie.
Why don't you give us answers?
That's great.
Lori Vallow, a mother from Rexburg, Idaho, is facing serious charges after authorities discovered the bodies of her kids bound and buried on her husband's property.
That husband, Chad Daybell, is facing charges too. It started more than 1 year ago when 2 of Vallow's children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow, disappeared. Authorities asked Vallow for help, but she did not cooperate. But in the midst of that search for her kids, she tied the knot with Chad Daybell. He is an author writing books with religious undertones about the end of the world. But this case does not appear to manifest from thin air. In 1 Foot in the Grave, we explore Vallow's upbringing and checkered history. In January 2019, a friend says she begins to act strangely, saying she believes she has superpowers. And as it turns out, this is not her first experience with police. The last involving threats of attacks from an out-of-world being.
Charles has been killed. I'm going to kill you. You're going to be murdered today or tomorrow.
Charges are serious for Vallow and Daybell. In this podcast, we explore similar cases from Idaho where capital punishment is legal. It includes a mother, considered a family annihilator, who now sits on death row. Experts weigh the legal possibilities of how Vallow's case will play out in court.
The Daybell case, for example, has a lot of religious overtones or undertones. Jurors may be unwilling to judge the case fairly because of religious beliefs.
Wow, interesting stuff. So Jen, what is something surprising that you actually learned covering this case?
Well, Tom, you know, we've heard a lot about Lori Vallow and a lot about Chad Daybell. As we dug into their past, there's a lot of names that you have never heard of. And that's a big point of contention within the podcast. There's a lot of other players that come into play with this case. So we really delve into their history and how that plays into today's situation and what they're dealing with now.
Wow. Taylor, you cover North Idaho. You're our North Idaho reporter where this case is actually playing out. Are there any other cases like this in the state?
You know, Tom, from what we could tell, it seems like this case is really in a league of its own. There's just so many weird and unusual things with this. We do at one point in the podcast dig into, you saw it in the story we just showed you there, Idaho's lone woman on death row in the state she was actually convicted of killing her husband and kids. Now, again, that hasn't happened to Lori Vallow yet, but we've made some comparisons there because, you know, it's interesting as well. But yeah, this case, league of its own, it appears.
Wow. 1 Foot in the Grave. Looking forward to this podcast. It's going to be great. By the way, you can at home can binge all 4 episodes of 1 Foot in the Grave right now. You can find it all on KREM.com. To download, just text the word podcast to 509-448-2000. Thanks, you guys.